Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with Baked Spinach and Artichoke Toasts. That's right, we're going to take this very popular hot baked dip and we're making it even more user-friendly by spreading it on perfect toast ahead of time, which not only makes the experience a little more special and luxurious, but the best part of any baked dip is that crusty brown topping, which is generally all gone shortly after the dipping begins. But with these individually portioned servings, every bite features that irresistible, beautifully brown crust. So for all those reasons and more, I really think you're going to love this. And to get started, we're going to need to slice some bread. And of course, use what you want, but I think pretty much any loaf of Italian or French bread would work just fine. And what we want here, I think, is about half-inch slices. And if your loaf is fairly narrow like this, you can just slice it straight across. But if it's a lot more narrow like a baguette, you'll want to slice it at an angle so your pieces are longer. Or if you're using a loaf that's kind of wide, you can always cut your slices in half. But in any event, once those are sliced, we'll go ahead and transfer those onto a lined baking sheet. And don't be afraid to crowd them. All right, as long as those are in a single layer, we're okay. And they're always going to shrink up a little bit as they cook. And that's it. Once our pan's been panned, we're going to give it a fairly severe drenching with melted butter. Okay, so we're going to drizzle a very generous amount over the top, at which point we'll go ahead and brush it in and over. And besides adding flavor and richness, this is also going to somewhat waterproof the bread, so that the moisture from our topping does not seep in and get everything soggy. Oh, and by the way, if you wanted to use margarine, you can't. Don't use that. But a nice light buttery olive oil is acceptable. And that's it. Once that's set, it's ready to pop into the center of a 375-degree oven for about a half hour or so, or until lightly but beautifully golden brown. All right, don't forget these do need to get baked again. So we don't want to go too far. But too far is not the same as this far. And this far is exactly how far we want to go. And no, we do not need to flip these. All we're going to do is set those aside while we work on our spinach and artichoke topping. And that's going to start by us chopping up some very well drained artichoke hearts, as well as some towel, or rather the spinach in the towel, which after thawing it I use to squeeze out every drop of water. And then all we're doing here is carefully chopping this stuff down as small as we want. And of course, how far you go is up to you. I mean, you are after all the Colin Jost of your hot dip top toast. But as you can see here, I like to chop my veggies pretty fine. And speaking of weekend updates, if you wanted to add some extra veggies to these, it would totally work. Okay, some sauteed mushrooms, or maybe some roasted red peppers, would both be very lovely. And that's it. Once our spinach and artichokes have been successfully chopped, we can move on to the rest of our ingredients, which is going to start with not one, but 4 kinds of cheese, including some cream cheese, and the real stuff, not that whip stuff. Right? Don't buy that stuff. You're just paying for air. And then to that, we will add some Gruyere cheese. Or I guess if you want some cheddar. I'm also going to do some provolone. Or for something more mild, you could use some mozzarella. And then last but not least, some freshly and finely grated Parmigiano Reggiano, also known as real Parmesan cheese. And then to that, we will add some finely minced garlic. Whoops. As well as some freshly sliced green onions. And then we'll season that up with some freshly ground black pepper, some salt, and of course, as is customary, a few shakes of cayenne. And then I think we should also do a little pinch of nutmeg, freshly grated of course. And then once all that's set, we can transfer in our recently chopped veggies. And then we'll take a spoon, spatula, or in my case, spoonula, and we will mix this until it's thoroughly combined. And please take your time with this. Okay, this stuff is impossible to overmix. But on the other hand, it is very possible to undermix. And of course, honoring a long-standing tradition on Food Wishes, I forgot to take out my cream cheese and let it come up to room temp, which would have meant it was much softer and easier to mix. But anyway, I make these mistakes so you don't have to. So if you can, leave your cream cheese out on the counter for a while. And then what we'll do once that's all mixed up, and we've given it a quick taste for seasoning, is go ahead and transfer a relatively large amount on the top of each toast. Okay, I think at the very minimum, we want to layer a topping at least as thick as the toast itself. And yes, we definitely want to go all the way to the edges. And to amuse ourselves while we do this, we always want to play the portioning game, where we see if we can use just the right amount, so that when we finish the last one, we are completely out of topping. And check it out, I got really close. And if we do use almost but not quite all of it, we can just add a little more to the tops to use it up. And for whatever reason you have a lot left over, you'll just simply have to make some more toast and do another pan. And then for one last step here, we'll go ahead and grate over a little more Parmesan, which is optional, but the grater and cheese were right there, so why not? And that's it. Those are now ready to transfer into the center of a 450-degree oven for about 25 minutes or so, or until the tops are beautifully browned and they look like this. Oh yes, those do look lovely. And not only should the tops be nicely browned, but the bottom should be crisp and golden brown as well. And I was going to immediately transfer these onto a platter, but they looked and smelled so good, I went right in for a taste. And a listen. And yes, that's what they're supposed to sound like. And as far as the taste goes, imagine the best hot spinach artichoke dip you've ever had, only way better. Since here, every bite we take contains some of that beautiful crusty top. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. And then I went ahead and served these on something a little more attractive, next to some seasonally appropriate chunks of pomegranates. And then I went ahead and enjoyed just one more, allegedly. Oh, and one last production note. If your artichoke hearts came in a marinade, which was pretty acidic, like mine was, then you really don't have to add anything like lemon juice to the mixture. But if they were just canned in salt water like some are, don't be afraid to squeeze like half a lemon in. Alright, that is just you cooking. But anyway, whether you're making these for some special occasion, or to simply serve next to a bowl of soup, either way, I really do hope you give these a try soon. So please follow the links below for the ingredient amounts, a printable written recipe, and much more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.